Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Vandy, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. It's Monday night. That means it is time for Braid School. We recently celebrated 100 episodes, and those first 100 episodes, we covered all the basics of braiding. Now we're taking a deep dive into fine-tuning those skills in our Becoming a Better Braider series. Our hope is to help continue to build a supportive community among aspiring braiders, and if you're a potential client looking for a braider, hopefully this can help you find a braider that best suits your needs. We've got quite a few questions from last week's video, and as promised, we've got a pop quiz coming up. So grab your notes, hit that subscribe button, and let's get started. All right, pop quiz time. This week's pop quiz is in reference to sealing the ends of synthetic braid. Last week I introduced you guys to my wrap and tap method for sealing goddess ends. In order to execute this method, we talked about the properties of synthetic braiding hair and how to manipulate it with heat. So today's question is twofold. What type of flat iron did I recommend for this method? And what is the minimum temperature needed to seal synthetic braiding hair? Drop your answers in the comments below, and the first 3 correct answers will be featured in next week's video. And bonus tip, if you need a little exposure, drop your social media handles in there so that I can share them with the rest of the group. Also, a friendly reminder, turn that notification bell on so that you don't miss next week's opportunity for a pop quiz. Tonight's first question we're going to cover is about faux locs, and coincidentally enough, I just installed these, so this is quite on time. But it comes from Joanna Masaba 2766. Hi Vandy, my clients always complain about their faux locs slipping. What can I do to keep them from slipping when the client runs their hands through the locks? I always wrap them myself and use spring twist hair. Please help. Believe it or not, this is actually a common occurrence, and there are a few tips and tricks that you can tweak to make sure that your locks are secure for your clients throughout the duration of their wear. Let's get into it. All right, starting with the foundation that we use for faux locks, soft locks, any kind of locks for that matter, you want to make sure that the foundation of the hair is braided in securely. So in this example, this client's hair is fine and pretty long for that matter, about medium length. I want to make sure that I'm getting the braid further down so that it doesn't have the opportunity to unravel, because as this person's hair grows out, it's going to start to loosen up at the root. Now, if your client's hair is short, then you want to add hair in here to extend it. That way that the lock has something to hold on to. Another thing that I do for clients who have short hair is I will braid it all the way down, and then a lot of times their braid, especially if they have a blunt cut, their braid will still come loose. I will rubber band the ends of the braid instead of the root of their braid. So rubber band the ends just to keep it from unraveling. If you can at least get 4 or 5 inches of braid in there, and you know for a fact that it is not going to come undone, then you can twist the rest of the way down just to get the ends tamed down. And twisting also helps with the takedown process. Now we have quite a few methods and quite a few videos that we've covered over the past couple of years. Like for example, the fold over method, which works very well for longer hair lengths because you can adjust the length from there. We also covered feeding in the actual lock into the braid, or you can braid the loop of the lock into the braid. However, both methods can be kind of cumbersome when you are going to do the takedown. One big mistake that a lot of people make is instead of crocheting the wrapping hair through the root of the braid, they go to start wrapping the hair around it. The only way this works is if one, the braider is very skilled and they can get that root nice and tight, and if the client's hair has enough texture to hold the hair. If the client's hair is fine, a lot like this one, straight, relaxed, it's gonna slip right out like so. So by crocheting it through the root of the braid, the hair has something to anchor to. So even if it were to slide down, the only thing that would show is just a little bit of the braid, and that can easily be fixed by going back up. But let me show you my foolproof method of installing locks that's gonna keep them from sliding out and will also cut down your install time. So what I like to do is I like to prep the hair. So this is my wrapping hair. This is my lock. I'm going to put the wrapping hair through the lock. So this is going to serve a number of different purposes. This is going to extend the lock, the length of the lock. It's also going to secure it when you put it up here at the root of the braid. The only downside to this method is that if the client's hair is really long, then you would have to wrap the length of the lock to cover all of the hair. So far, I have not had any issues with this method. I use this on myself because it is the easiest and the fastest way to do it. And it makes for an easier takedown process, I promise. Now I'm going to put this through the root. Remember, as long as your foundation is secure, however it may be, you should not have any issues with it coming undone. Now we just get into wrapping. And I'm going to show you how to secure the ends without any glue, heat, or any of that. One thing I like to do is halfway down the wrap, I'm going to grab very small pieces of the wrapping hair. And then I'm going to gather everything together and I'm going to start wrapping. So as I run out of hair, I'm going to keep grabbing more hair. And I'm going to keep wrapping until I run out. So I'm down to my last smaller piece. And I'm just going to keep wrapping. The smaller the piece you wrap, the less likely it is going to unravel. See how tight that is? It's nice and tight and secure. Now, I'm actually run out of hair, so I'm going to add in more hair. This is how I do that. We're just going to crochet a little bit on the ends. And a common mistake that people make is, one, adding too much wrapping hair, also not splitting the ends like I did before. So if I wrap all of this down like so, and I don't split the ends, I can get it as nice and tight as possible, but it doesn't have much to lock in on. So it's more likely that it's going to unravel over time. So that's why splitting the ends and making them very, very tiny makes for a tighter wrap and it's much more secure. I also do this with butterfly locks. When you wrap back up, just grab small pieces because then it just adds layers and it's less likely that it'll come undone. You see how I'm running my hands through it and it's not coming undone? Especially if I were able to dip these locks. If I dip these locks, hot water is going to seal in the shape and the form of the hair, so it's less likely to unravel as well. Another contributing factor to unraveling, and we've covered this in so many tutorials that require spring twist or passion twist or water wave, is wrapping in the direction that the curl pattern goes. So in this particular situation, this hair, this curl pattern, actually curls to the left. So instead of trying to fight against that curl pattern and wrapping to the right, I need to wrap to the left so that the hair automatically curls on itself. But if I try to wrap this in the other opposite direction, it's going to bounce back every single time. Now, most spring twists, most passion twists, and I know for a fact most spring twists, they all curl to the right. So I've always trained everyone to wrap to the right, get used to it. I didn't like doing it at first either, but it makes a world of difference when you're not fighting against curl patterns. You'll most likely see hair that goes in the left direction with like water wave hair, Freetress brands, stuff like that. But make sure you're checking the direction of the curl pattern because that does make a huge, huge difference. All right, so this question has shown up in multiple places, so I'm going to try to cover it all at once. And that is, can you show us how to add in the hair underhanded and overhanded? Let's get into it. All right, first things first, I always tell you guys to practice without product. This will help you with your grip game. Remember, we're fine-tuning our skills. In this demo, I am braiding what I like to call overhand. Don't argue with me. Everybody says underhand. I call it overhand because I've been doing this my entire life. I just recently learned how to do underhand. So I'm calling it overhand because my palms are over and I'm pulling the middle leg up and over. Hence overhand. I'm using my pincher fingers to pull up and over. When feeding in hair for demonstration purposes, I'm going to be using a little bit of this braiding cord just so you can see the difference because I don't have any colored hair or anything. But when you are pulling up and over, as a rule of thumb, I like to use these two legs on the right as my feed-in legs, simply because they're going to be crossing over and under each other. So now I want to add in hair. So to do that, I'm going to place this underneath those two legs. I'm going to push it up so it's nice and tight and locked in there. Then I'm going to continue braiding as if it never even was added. You see how seamless that is? All right, let's do underhand. I call this underhand because I'm wrapping over and under, and my palms are facing under. Under, under, under. Some people like to call this the wrap method. Whatever you call it, fine. But I love this method, and it took me years to train my hands to do this because I needed to do this for tucking purposes. It is a lot easier to tuck if you can learn how to braid underhand. So when you're braiding underhand, your insert is going to be a tad bit different. And when you insert is going to depend on which leg is larger than the other two. You want to only insert on the two legs that need extra help. So in this case, this one is my larger one. I want to make sure that that larger one is in my middle. And now my two smaller legs are around my finger here. Now when I go to insert, instead of going under, I'm going over right here. So I'm essentially attaching the leg to this one and this one. This one is free. So I'm bringing that over and I'm attaching them together. Now I'm just going to pull that middle leg up, tighten everything up, and I'm going to continue braiding. And that's how you do it underhand. Now, rule of thumb, when you're adding in hair, make sure whatever you're adding is smaller than the braid that you're adding it to. So if you try to add in a big chunky piece, it's going to look big and chunky, and it's not going to be seamless. You're going to be able to see where it wraps around. But the smaller it is, the easier it is to hide it within the braid. All right, so that concludes tonight's episode of Becoming a Better Braider. As always, if you learned something, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. It helps the channel out a whole lot. And make sure you share it with a friend. If you're new here, we're going to be here every Monday answering your questions specifically. So make sure you drop them in the comments below and hit that subscribe button on your way out. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.